Today, we're diving deep into the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. With new alliances forming, increased international tensions, and major changes in Western political dynamics, there's a lot to cover. Let's break it down. In recent weeks, North Korea has reportedly deployed troops to assist Russia in its war efforts against Ukraine. This move has been widely criticized by the international community, especially by Western nations. North Korea's decision to back Russia is significant. It's a rare instance of direct military cooperation with another country and places Pyongyang squarely in opposition to the West. North Korean soldiers are believed to be operating near the Russian-Ukrainian border, likely in supporting roles such as logistics, supplies, and possibly even in frontline activities. While details remain sparse, this alliance signals a concerning development for the stability of the region. Countries in the West, particularly the United States and the European Union, are now reconsidering their approach to North Korea. There's talk of ramping up sanctions or applying diplomatic pressure in response to Pyongyang's involvement. This alliance is a stark reminder of how interconnected global alliances can shift in times of prolonged conflict, potentially reshaping diplomatic relationships across Asia, Europe, and beyond. Turning to the front lines, Russian forces have intensified their attacks, particularly around the city of Kherson. This area has been a focal point of heavy fighting since the war began, as it is strategically valuable for both Ukraine and Russia. Recently, Russian forces have been employing heavier artillery and drone strikes against Ukrainian positions, with frequent attacks that have caused substantial damage to Ukrainian defenses and civilian infrastructure. Despite facing a larger, better-resourced army, Ukrainian forces are standing firm. They've adopted defensive tactics designed to counteract Russia's artillery advantage, making creative use of trenches, barricades, and mobile units to withstand Russian advances. This fight is not just about territory, it's about wearing down the opposition. By drawing out the conflict, Ukraine is betting that Russia's logistical challenges and internal issues will hinder its long-term effectiveness. This battle also highlights the continued importance of Western military support for Ukraine. Advanced technology and weaponry provided by allies play a key role in Ukraine's defensive strategies. Every week that Ukraine holds its ground is seen as a setback for Russian forces who must bear the high cost of constant engagement. Beyond the battlefield, political shifts in the United States are casting uncertainty on the future of military and economic aid for Ukraine. Recently, Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election. His victory has raised questions about America's ongoing commitment to Ukraine, as Trump has previously voiced skepticism about the extent of U.S. involvement overseas, especially regarding Europe's conflicts. If the U.S. pulls back on its support, it could profoundly impact Ukraine's ability to defend itself, as the U.S. has been one of Ukraine's most substantial allies in this war. Military aid, intelligence support, and financial resources have all been crucial in helping Ukraine counter Russian advances. At the same time, Europe is grappling with its own internal changes. Germany, a key EU member and a significant supporter of Ukraine, is currently undergoing a period of political instability. This shift could further complicate the EU's response to the war. While most European leaders have been unified in their support for Ukraine, a change in Germany's political landscape could introduce challenges to sustaining the same level of commitment. The conflict's toll on civilians continues to escalate. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced, with many seeking refuge in neighboring countries or other parts of Ukraine. Major urban areas have seen extensive infrastructure damage from the relentless shelling and bombing campaigns. Entire communities are left without access to basic services, such as electricity, clean water, and medical care. Humanitarian aid organizations are facing growing challenges in meeting the needs of displaced people. Supplies are limited, and logistical routes have become more difficult due to the expanding war zones and Russia's targeted strikes on transportation networks. The approaching winter has added another layer of urgency to the situation, with cold temperatures and harsh conditions expected to further strain resources. International aid remains critical, with countries across Europe and beyond donating supplies and funds. However, as the conflict drags on, there are concerns about donor fatigue, as countries face their own economic challenges. This raises a vital question. can the world maintain its current level of support for Ukraine's civilians? The humanitarian crisis continues to grow in severity, and any reduction in aid could spell disaster for millions of Ukrainians. The involvement of North Korean troops and the political shifts in the West have prompted swift international reactions. NATO, the United Nations, and leaders from various countries are closely monitoring these changes. There's increasing debate within NATO regarding how to respond to this evolving landscape. Should they increase military support to Ukraine to counter these new threats, or should they seek diplomatic solutions to prevent further escalation? The European Union is also navigating these challenges. With some member states facing domestic pressures, maintaining unity in their support for Ukraine is becoming harder. If key countries like Germany waver, it could create a ripple effect that weakens Europe's stance. In the broader geopolitical picture, Russia's relationship with North Korea signals a shift that could have long-lasting implications for global alliances. North Korea's decision to support Russia could drive it closer to China, creating a potential coalition that may complicate future international diplomacy. Meanwhile, countries around the world are watching these alliances form and reassessing their own positions in the event of a prolonged or expanded conflict. The Russia-Ukraine war has entered a complex new phase. From North Korea's involvement to the political shifts in the United States and Europe, the conflict is affecting global alliances and bringing new challenges to international diplomacy. The humanitarian impact is severe, with millions of lives disrupted, and as winter approaches, the stakes are even higher for Ukraine's civilians and soldiers alike. What we're seeing in Ukraine reflects much more than a regional conflict. It's a powerful reminder of how interconnected our world has become and how events in one area can shape the futures of many nations. The coming months will be critical in determining the course of this war and its effects on global stability. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more updates as we continue to follow this unfolding story.